So we actually have some big news. Because if you receive any assistance from the federal government, then you need to watch this entire video. Because we are now finally getting some good news regarding some of these benefits. For example, SNAP benefits, affordable housing, Social Security, all these things are now starting to come to light. We're starting to see more lawmakers discuss this and just eliminate the possibilities of cuts or reductions in any way. So I want to explain what this is, what's happening right now. And again, all this revolves around the debt ceiling that currently lawmakers are negotiating. So what is going on? Well, before we get into that, first, all I ask is if you can spend just 2 seconds, go ahead, hit that like button. It really does help out the channel. But let's get to this for a second. So here's the big news that's coming out just this afternoon. Reports are indicating that Republican negotiators are easing their demands on defense spending. Yeah, they are talking about, and again, these reports are indicating that Republicans are content with keeping defense spending where it is currently at. They are not talking about, and again, Republicans are usually for increasing defense spending. They're okay with leaving it where it's at, which means, and again, this is good news, there's no additional increases. Okay? So, again, I bring this up because these little negotiations, what we're seeing right now, this is going to play a major role when it comes to Social Security, when it comes to SNAP benefits, when it comes to affordable housing, and so much more. Now, in order to get this though, in order for Republicans to agree, Democrats have to give in something. They have to give in to Republican demands. But what are some of those demands? Well, here's the thing, and I'm going to address that in just a second. First, I need you to understand exactly how we got here, okay? And again, I want to talk about this report because this is huge. So if you are on SNAP benefits, you get Social Security, or you're living in affordable housing, this is going to impact you, okay? So here's the thing. Here's how we got here. Democrats knew that, and they've known this for years, that they had to address the debt ceiling. They need to raise the debt ceiling, or eventually we could default. They knew it was going to happen, and they knew they were overspending over the past couple of years, and it was only going to make matters worse. However, they knew they couldn't raise the debt ceiling alone. They had to get a bipartisan deal, because if they raised the debt ceiling alone, then it would risk more seats in the House and the Senate. Okay? So Democrats knew they couldn't do this, and so we are now at this point where Democrats have very little power, because all the power that they once had was back in 2020, 2021. Now they don't have it because Republicans control the House of Representatives. So what does this mean for other Republican demands? Well, let's get to that. First, let's talk about the biggest demand that Republicans have, and that is they want to see reduced spending over the next 10 years. That's it. Reduce spending over the next 10 years. But what's another way to reduce spending? Well, you could increase revenue. That would kind of offset it. But additional taxes aren't something that Republicans want to get behind. The other thing is, what about the money that has already been spent, right? What about that money that Congress gave to other programs, right? Could we see Republicans be like, hey, we see that you haven't spent $60 billion there. Can we go and take all that money and just get it all back? Could we do that? The answer is yes. That's where things are at right now. So here's what's happening. Democrats are open to the idea of reducing spending, but they want to make sure that it's the right kind of spending. But here's the thing. They are not open to reduce spending on things like social programs. No, they're open to reducing spending on defense, but not social programs like Social Security, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, affordable housing, and things like that. So the reports that are coming out today, and these are There's one from CNBC, one from CNN, from Bloomberg. There's multiple leaks on Twitter as well from White House. It says it's from White House aides, but again, no one's given their names. Okay, so the reports are indicating that Republicans are open to dropping the demand of raising the work requirement from age 50 to age 55. That's a big one. And this is one that Democrats say this is a hard red line. They could not get behind this. But Republicans say the hard red line is we are not going to vote to increase the debt ceiling unless you give in to some of our demands. Okay? So that's the big one. This means SNAP beneficiaries, your benefits would not be cut. The other one is Republicans are open to leaving spending at 2023 levels. Not going back to 2022, but not accepting 2024 level spending and keeping it consistent for years. They say, no, we can stick to 2023. That will be our negotiation. That will be our compromise, and you need to meet us in the middle. Here's where things get very interesting. People with knowledge of this negotiation, they say that Republicans don't necessarily need benefits pared back. Instead, Republicans are demanding money get pulled back. So we don't need benefits getting pared back. We need the money clawed back from the states, from the agencies. That's where we need it. So guess what? Republicans are demanding that Democrats agree to pull back $20 billion from the $80 billion in IRS funding. That's 25% of the bill. They want that back. And they say, why not? We haven't spent the money. Right? They haven't spent the money. Get this. According to multiple sources, and this was, I believe, about 2 months ago, the IRS only spent $1 billion out of the $80 billion that they were given. Guess what? It got them back on track. They didn't need the other $79 billion. $1 billion in additional funding was more than enough to get them back on track. How crazy is that? And they still have another $79 billion to go? It's crazy. Now, another one is, according to reports, there's roughly $30 billion in unspent COVID funding. Republicans say, claw that back. Let's pull that back. Let's take the $30 billion and the $20 billion. That comes up to, 30, there's 20. That comes up to $50 billion. Just pretend these are billions, right? $50 billion they can claw back and use it for other things. Yeah, interesting. Now, I've heard from thousands and thousands of community members over the past few months here on this channel alone. Every single person is worried about seeing their SNAP benefits get reduced even more. Again, remember, back in February, we saw SNAP beneficiaries lose a $95 per month boost that they were getting, all because that supplemental allotment went away. Well, this is huge, in my opinion, for SNAP beneficiaries, because this means that, again, if they're not going to agree on those work requirements, fine. Those work requirements, we don't need them, but we can pull the money back elsewhere. Interesting, right? We can actually save more money by giving people this benefit that need it and taking the money back from the IRS and from unspent COVID funding, again, which isn't helping us if we do not use it. Now, I think this is a big win, but this is not the only major win. Think about this for a second. Millions of lower income Americans were at risk of getting audited by the IRS simply because they were lower income, and we're going to be hiring thousands and thousands of new IRS agents to the tune of about 87,000 agents. Guess what? Taking some of this money back is going to reduce the probability of you getting audited in the future. How great is that? That's what I'm talking about, a win-win. So finally, we're starting to see something. We're starting to see our benefits are not being questioned. Our benefits are not at risk. We are able to actually live, pay for food, pay for housing. We're able to do this because lawmakers are now starting to try to work together, because guess what? They have to. There's no other way out of this, but Republicans and Democrats have to work together, or else we would risk a default. So, good news is Stuff is coming, and it will help the American people. But as always, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.